Download Ollama first. I forgot to state that at the beginning. I should have said it from the beginning, but you will have to download Ollama first uh, for Windows, Linux, Mac OS, whatever you're using. Download for Windows, blah blah blah. You know the deal. Hit download, and it should start automatically for the setup and everything. There really isn't much else. It's pretty straightforward. But don't forget to
What's going on,
download.
everybody? Welcome back to another Granularity.ai tutorials.
Usually, I don't show my face in these how-tos and tutorials, but I kind of want a little bit of change of pace, a little bit of change of scenery, and decided to kind of show my face here. Hopefully, it's a nice surprise. I had to get a new laptop recently. The webcam on my past laptop was very trashy, very terrible. Um, so hopefully, like I said, this is a nice surprise, and it's great to meet all of you guys. For whoever's watching or commenting, today we are going to talk about creating your own local rag with Ollama. If you're not familiar with what RAG is, it stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation, I think. Let me see, is that what it stands for? Yes, Retrieval Augmented Generation. Um, I had to check real quick. But yeah, retrieval augmented generation, and it's basically just another way or another concept of information retrieval. If you are familiar with information science or library science, you know this is kind of like usually a thing that's talked about in those realms, even in the computer science spaces. And that's kind of what we're going to focus on today. Reason to use Ollama for this, right? Especially when it's local, or not just Ollama, but the Llama models from Ollama, uh, is because number one, most importantly, it's low cost. There is little to no cost when using these models because they are open source. Open source meaning there's I don't think there's an API version, but you are able to kind of take these models and install them locally to your PC and use them at your own discretion for whatever you want. Two, there's privacy involved. So rather than you kind of plugging your data into a GPT model, a Claude model, a Gemini model, instead you are able to have a model on your own PC and plug in your documents and data into it, and it doesn't go anywhere. It's simply kept locally. And I know you might be asking, oh, okay, well, how is Llama trained? If that's the case. And it's trained on anything that's public: books, web, YouTube, um, Instagram, social media, whatever you want to call it. It's trained on that versus the data that's being plugged into it, right? Especially when it's on your local. It doesn't automatically get transmitted back to the server for it to be trained further. Server for it to be trained further. Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, so that's kind of one of the two core reasons to use Ollama. Number one is cost. Number two is privacy. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, if that sounds like something that piques your interest, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. Make sure you dislike if you want to. And all I ask is that if you do dislike, make sure you leave feedback, comment, suggest, critique. Criticism is fine as long as it's constructive. We want to hear it so that we can provide you better how-tos, better tutorials, better content for you to kind of go about and use. Um, so with that being said, let's kind of jump right into it. So I'm going to move my face out of the way. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to jump into what models are offered by Ollama in the first place. So Ollama is, I believe, managed by Meta. Used to be, or used to be known as Facebook. I guess Meta is now the parent company of Facebook, um, and it has all types of models, all types of open source models that you can use from Llama, Quen. I think this is something from Alibaba, Llama Vision. One of these, I forgot which one it was. It could be this Nomic one. I'm not entirely sure. Um, but I know there is one from NVIDIA. I can't remember if it's here or not. One thing that I also want to point out that I think is really really cool and really game changing is DeepSeek. If you're familiar with AI news for the past week, I think you will know that DeepSeek is operating at the capacity of a let's see, that achieves a performance comparable to GPT-4 Turbo. That's important in of itself, especially when it's open source, that you can get the same performance as a GPT-4o Turbo for free, right? There's no cost behind it. Again, this can be installed on your local and you can have your way with it. But I can't remember which one was the model uh, offered by NVIDIA. But anyways, that's besides the point. As you can see, they have embedding, they have vision tools, or they have embedding models, vision models, tools. I haven't played with this tools one, um, but they have all types of selections, all open source. Again, for free. If cost is a factor, especially when you're a startup, like granularity, your cost is important when we're developing applications, when we're developing kind of when we're developing for stakeholders and other startups. Cost is something important. So open source is the way to go when it comes to cost if you're just starting out. Just giving some advice to all other startups that are out there. So let's keep going. There was a YouTube tutorial that I found myself while I was scouring um, for how to implement something within an application I was developing, similar to what we're doing here today. And I was like, how can I create a local rag for this stakeholder, for this client of mine? And I've heard of people doing it. Sometimes it seemed more complicated than I would have liked it to be, especially when, this client may not have a whole bunch of money, may not have a whole bunch of funding. They kind of want to do it as painless as possible when it comes to spending. So that's where I found out about this tutorial from an individual name, or their channel's named All About AI dash YT. I'm guessing that means YouTube. And he named it Easy Local Rag. And so that's what I'm going to kind of run through here today with you guys. And I'm going to include the link to this person's GitHub for you guys to check it out and maybe do the same thing when it comes to installation and stuff like that. So I'm using Anaconda as the tool of choice when it comes to doing this development. My personal view, I would rather install these models using the Anaconda command terminal. Um, Mainly because if you do decide to install it on your own PC, unless you have something that is very efficient with a lot of space, a lot of storage, and you are okay with burning through GPUs and CPUs, be my guest. I believe it's better to use command prompt or command terminal using Anaconda. So I kind of already have it up right here. And the first thing that we are going to do is clone this person's project here. Once we have it cloned, we then want to set up the directory. My advice is to, once you have it here, you want to do CD and then just copy this directory here. Whoops, CD. There we go. Boom. cd easy local rag again, hit enter. And now we have the directory set up for further use. I had to get a sip of tea real quick. Now, once we have the directory set up, we're then going to want to install the requirements from this repository. So again, pip install -r requirements.txt will pull all the packages you need to run this application. One caveat I want to add from the development that I did for a client was that this may not give you all that you need in an application that you're trying to develop. I want to make that clear. So there was customization that I did on the development side specific for this client, specific to this person that had the ask. So I'm giving you the bare bones skeleton of this application. It's up to you whether or not you then want to hop back into the code um, and kind of do some customization yourself. I'll show you at the end how to do that and how to take it further. So we have pip install -r requirements, blah, blah, blah. Hit enter again. And as you can see, I have all the requirements installed. Uninstalling, blah, blah, blah. Found existing. So yeah, kind of just let it run, let it do its thing. It usually doesn't take that long. There's not a whole lot of packages that need to come into play, but there is enough for it to kind of take a few minutes or seconds. So kind of just give it some time and then let it run. Cool. So now that all packages are installed, one thing that I forgot to state is when you are, let me kind of minimize these, you will have to download Ollama first. I forgot to state that at the beginning. I should have said it from the beginning, but you will have to download Ollama first. For Windows, Linux, Mac OS, whatever you're using, download for Windows, blah, blah, blah. You know the deal. Hit download and it should start automatically for the setup and everything. There really isn't much else. It's pretty straightforward, but don't forget to download Ollama onto your local. Now, this isn't the model itself. This is just I guess the hosting of the models. It's not where you're automatically bringing in a bunch of these, you know, 405 billion parameter models or these 32 billion parameter models automatically, and it's just flushing your machine and filling up all types of space. That's not the case. This is just where those models are hosted. That's all it is. I promise. So don't get scared. But once you kind of have the requirements installed and you have the Ollama platform downloaded, also once you do download it, I think you should see this little llama pop up as well. It's pretty cute. Make sure that's how you kind of know that it's installed. Once you have that down pat, you then can go back to the models itself, go to the GitHub, and pick whichever model you want to try out. Again, I'm using I don't know if I mentioned, but we're going to be using the 1 billion parameter version 3.2, 1.3 gigs, basically because it's not too big. We're not doing anything strenuous. This is going to be something simple. You don't need anything too big for this tutorial, just how to. You guys can comment if you want me to kind of explore ways where you will need something like of big of that parameter. But again, leave the feedback, leave the comments, leave the criticism, and you know, if need be, we can definitely run through it. But let's keep going. So we want to copy. We want to copy this here. And place this here. Now you want to switch this from run to pull instead. This will pull the manifest that you will be using for this RAG application. Once you have that, we then want to use embedding model. And so for this, we're going to be using this MXB AI embed large, 335 million state-of-the-art embedding model, blah, blah, blah. We want to use the large version. So we are going to then, same concept, right? Ollama, pull MXB AI embed large. This again will pull the manifest, install everything that you need, and you should be good to go after that. So once we have that done, right, and once we have this individual's, once we've cloned this individual's repository, we then want to kind of run with it. And I'll show you later how there is in your directory, you have the files installed already, and you can kind of go back and make whatever customizations you want. We're going to want to do Python. Upload.py. And what should happen is that you'll see an icon. This icon will ask if you want to import a text file, a PDF, or a JSON, I think. So once you hit that, you see this little icon here, right? Upload PDF. Let me see if I can maybe move it. Come on, little guy. There we go. Upload PDF, upload text file, upload JSON. We are going to be uploading a PDF. And this PDF has to do with vertical agents. I don't know if I've shown you guys this yet, but PDF content appended to vault.txt with each chunk on a separate line. That's good news. Once this happens, once you have this response back, you can close out of this. Boom. Now, we want to initialize the local RAG tool. So again, Python. Same concept. Python local rag.py. Boom. Now, give it some time to initialize. It doesn't take too long, less than 5 minutes maybe. But give it some time to kind of initialize, kind of start up, and then you could begin asking questions to these documents. So as you can see, it's already kind of running, parsing command line arguments, initializing Ollama API client, loading vault content, generating embeddings for the vault content, so forth and so on. Like I said, give it a few minutes, could be a few seconds for you, I'm not sure. And then you can kind of get it working and asking questions to your documents. So now we got back a response converting embeddings to tensor, embeddings for each line in the vault, and it kind of shows the results. We're not going to go through what a tensor is today. Maybe possibly in like future machine learning projects, I think it'd be pretty cool to go through tensors. I've kind of debated whether I kind of want to bring ML projects into this channel. I don't know if it's a good idea or have a healthy mix of AI and ML stuff. I know AI is kind of the big thing these days. So I'm not 100% sure how many of you guys want to see ML projects in the first place. But again, let me know in the comments, leave feedback, leave suggestions, all that. So now this document that we uploaded is about vertical agents and AI systems. Let me kind of enlarge this real quick. So we want to know, at least give a summary. And again, this may not be clean. I think it might be better to use a different embedding model than this one. But either way, just for this tutorial, we're going to use the MXB AI one and see what pops out. So please, or let's see what chapter. Actually, take that back. Please, what is the introduction to the vertical agents paper? Let's see here. Da, 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 da. So it's kind of messy. I think if we might have used a different um, model, it could have been better. Blah, blah, unstructured vertical AI agents whose rapidly will gain momentum with major players such as Google, AWS, OpenAI, Microsoft, spearheading efforts. While these events signal a transformative shift, we are still in the early stages of this journey. So it does give um, the introduction and describing what vertical agents are within the paper. I know in the custom build application that we had built for another client, we did have to do some work on the back end to make the output cleaner. And I think we did use a different embedding model. I can't remember which one it was. I kind of got to go back and in the original, not the original, but in the custom we built and check and see. But the response was cleaner. Vertical AI agents emerged as a critical innovation offering operational advantages. Da, 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 da. But point is, it does give out an output and it does work. Cognitive skills, blah, 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 blah. Section 3, we explore LM agents, the bedrock of vertical agents. Da, 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 da. So when you do get this response, you can just kind of run do the Python local rag command again, and it will kind of redo. You're able to ask further questions to the document versus kind of just thinking that this is it and it's giving you an error. It's not an error. It might just be timing out. I'm not sure. But this is something useful if you are looking to simply do something on your local versus something where you have to load your data, especially confidential, restricted, proprietary data, into something like a GPT
Helpful if
or
you
something
don't
like want your information trained on someone else's LLM, large language model. You kind of want to keep your information to yourself. I think I'm becoming more and more leaning towards privacy these days. And maybe that's just me becoming paranoid, especially with AI and having a lot of these models being trained on user data, personal data, even companies in the background can buy, sell, trade your data, and have use your data without you knowing to train these AI models. Um, so I think using kind of these open source large language models locally can definitely be like, I guess, like your your version of like raging against the machine and having AI not use your data. But anyways, besides that, if you like the content that you got today, if you found it informational, if you found it interesting, please make sure you subscribe. Please make sure you like or dislike whatever you feel. I just ask that if you're gonna dislike, make sure that you leave comments, leave feedback, leave suggestions. We could take criticism. And with criticism, we can definitely kind of get you what you want and need to what might be helpful for you or what you're looking to do. I think in the next few weeks, we're going to kind of jump back into AI agents. I think we have learned and discovered a lot more things in terms of how AI agents can be helpful in your day to day, especially with Anthropic rolling out, I believe it's computer use. That can be extremely helpful. I think there's something where Hugging Face rolled out small agents. I think that's what it's called. And we're going to kind of discover that as well and see what we can kind of create from that. But without further ado, bye bye.